launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
All right, welcome into a Tuesday edition of the JP Peterson Show here, live from our Orlando studios here. We've got it all mixed up for you. We got the man cave all set up here, bro. Looking good, feeling good. We got lots to get to today. Got a great show for you. We are going to chat with Scott Reynolds from the Pewter Report. Haven't chatted with him since training camp started, so we'll catch up with Scotty at 10:30. 11 o'clock, TJ Reeves will join us. He spent the weekend in Vegas at all the big fights, so we'll talk with him about bucks and fights and all kinds of stuff. And Kurt Weiler from the Osceola and Rivals Network covering Florida State will get us up to date on the Noles possibly moving to the Big Ten. Man, my phone was just blowing up yesterday. Like, is this true? Is this going to happen? I'm like, haven't we talked about this on the show before? Yes, they're headed to the Big Ten. They're not going to the SEC. This is the obvious move for Florida State. Now, when it happens, I don't know, but we'll find out from Kurt Weiler. So lots to get to today. We got Rays to talk about after a big win over the Yankees. Aaron Boone's still a moron. It's a good day. It's a good day in Tampa Bay. I'll say good morning to you, Nick Geddes from On3 Sports, my co-host. What's happening down there in our St. Pete studio?
Well, I wore my Rays shirt today because it is a glorious, glorious day for your Tampa Bay Rays. Beating up on those Yankees, hitting 4 home runs in their own ballpark. We broke them yesterday. We broke Aaron Boone. Yankees Twitter is having a meltdown once again.
Did I hear some boos last night? I think I heard some boos last night.
The Boo Birds were out and about, man. The Boo Birds were out and about. Like you said, a very perplexing move. The whole Domingo Germán thing. Can't really wrap my head around that one. And then, of course, the Rays. Let's not bury the lead.
No.
Go out and acquire another frontline starter to add to this absolutely nasty rotation, which you saw last night with Tyler Glasnow once again, who looks elite, by the way. Go out and get an arm, Aaron Civale, which I'm very excited about. I know we're going to dive into that as well. So this was a good and a great day for the Tampa Bay Rays, dare I say, yesterday.
It really was. And I'm cautiously optimistic. And again, I know we've been talking about adding a starter for quite some time. It was a must, but would I have rather had Paul Goldschmidt? Yes, I would have. We got a poll out there about the addition of Aaron Civale, and I said, I would have liked somebody else. I like the move. Civale's a great addition. We got control over him for the next couple of years. A great, that'll keep us cheap, the payroll low, right? Woohoo! Everybody gets really excited about that. Oh, our payroll's low. What does that ever win you? Like, what does that do for you as a fan base? Why do people get excited about that?
Frankly, I don't really care what the guy makes. I just know that I just look at the numbers and what he's done. And the fact of the matter is, starting pitchers with at least 75 innings this season, there's only one man who has the lowest ERA in baseball, and his name is Aaron Civale. And he now pitches for your Tampa Bay Rays. And he steps into this rotation as your number 4 option, further strengthening what is already perhaps the best 1, 2, 3 in the American League. Now you have the best 1, 2, 3, 4 in the American League in a rotation that I think is a World Series caliber rotation. I don't think anybody should debate that. And also for the price they got him, I'm impressed. I have no problem giving up a Kyle Manzardo. I know he came on last year. He stalled a little bit at AAA, but the Rays are loaded all of a sudden at first base and third base down in the minors. When you think of Meade, Caminaro, Xavier Isaac, our first-round pick, who, if you've been paying attention to the Charleston River Dogs, like I have lately, he's crushing it down there. So, and Jonathan Aranda, the Charleston River Dogs. And Jonathan Aranda as well, who hit his 19th home run the other night and continues to be on a blistering pace. And they view him as a first baseman, mind you, and it'd be a good idea to get him up and get Yandy off his feet as well at first base. Yes, so they already loaded with talent. So the way I look at it is you gave up a prospect who was already blocked by a few other guys to get another frontline starter to this rotation to help. That's the way I view it. You didn't have to give anything else up. I thought this was a very savvy move by your Tampa Bay Rays, and a guy that I didn't think was available because the Guardians are in like a game out of the Twins or something like that in the AL Central, and they're trading major pieces to their roster, which I'm a little perplexed by that one. But their loss is the Rays' gain. I thought this was a savvy move, and I'll give it an A. I give it a solid A for the addition.
It's a great addition. There's no question about it. Manzardo, look, we don't have an established – look, Yandy Diaz is a really good hitter, no question about it. He's not a natural first baseman, right? He's not a natural he's not bad. He's not terrible, but he's not a natural first baseman. I'm not, thrilled about trading a first baseman prospect like that. But you got to give up something to get something. Exactly. I get that. And this is something that was desperately needed. And I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. In fact, I would be happy if at some point the Rays gave Shane McClanahan a rest. As we see his velo going down a little bit, he just hadn't been the same guy. We saw the same thing about this point last year. Wouldn't be a bad idea for him to pull a hammy a little bit, go on a 10-day DL, IL, whatever. Be fine with me. And you have it now. You have an extra arm here that you can start eating innings. And I thought that was interesting. I was watching ESPN this morning, and they had a little interesting graphic. According to their fan graphs, the Rays have a 54% chance of winning the AL East, as opposed to the Orioles have a 33% chance. And that's simply because of the schedule that remains. The Orioles' schedule is much harder than the Rays, according to fan graphs. So that's interesting. And I think it is important to win the division, by the way. I think it's very important to win the division. You don't want to be involved in the wild card stuff. That's just, it's just
you'd have to play the Astros right now.
Right. Yeah,
you want no part. I don't like that matchup in the first round. I just don't.
No, you don't like that matchup, so stay out of that business. And I think it's imperative that they win the division. And in order to win the division, they got to go get a bat. And I was reading that Paul Goldschmidt is available. The Cardinals are not pulling him back. That talks have intensified, according to the folks that really know about this stuff. The Rays are one of the teams that are interested in getting him. I think the Orioles are also on that list, by the way. The Orioles, by the way, also in on Verlander, if I'm not mistaken. So that would be – they need to bolster their rotation. There's no question about that. And I think they will. I think they'll make a move today to get a frontline starter. Now, if they add Verlander, they're adding. That's a bit of that could be a bit of an albatross. That's eating $92 million over the next 2 years, because if he pitches 140 innings next year, his bonus kicks in. So that's a lot of money. But the Orioles, believe it or not, their payroll is a notch below the Rays. So they're saying, oh, you know what? We don't care. We're going to add payroll, because people forget. And, I was reading the Romano column today, and once again, there's a line in there, great that they have control of Civale because they're a low revenue team that has to keep payroll manageable. God, I'm so tired of hearing that bullshit. It's unbelievable. They are not a low revenue. Well, compared to other teams, they might be a little bit lower revenue. Their expenses are nil. They don't pay for a stadium. They make tons of money. He's sitting on $500 million that he took out from the advance payment for the new regional TV deal. They are not a low revenue team. They have tons of money they can spend if they want to spend it. Why don't you print that every now and then, just to remind people, okay? But they won't. This is a team that has the money to go spend, but they refuse to spend it. And why not? Goldschmidt, you can have him for next year at $22 million. Sounds like a lot of money, but where the Rays are right now, 27th in payroll, still $90 million below the league average. You told me you were going to spend money at the deadline. It's a great deal. You didn't spend any money. This guy makes $2.3 million. He's going to make $866,000 the rest of the year. He's got 2 more years of arbitration. He might make $5 million next year at most. So you're still not spending any money. Go out and spend some money and get a big bopper. I've seen teams all over the league that are adding hitters. What are the Rays doing? You can't be serious. That this offense is going to carry you to a World Series championship. You can't be serious. I don't care if you hit 4 home runs last night. You can't be serious. For the last 2.5 months, your offense has been terrible. The same offense that you had last year. I got last season and 3 months of this, 2.5 months of this season to tell me that this offense is not good enough. It's okay It gets hot every now and then, but it's not good enough for championship baseball. So if they don't add a big bopper, and I'm not talking about David Peralta, then I don't think they're serious about winning a World Series. They're not serious. And yes, you're going to have to give up some prospects. I don't know what the Cardinals are asking for, but I would certainly entertain giving up a top prospect to get Goldschmidt, which would give you a great opportunity this year and next year, 2 years with this rotation to be serious about winning a World Series. If the Rays are serious, they'll go out and get Goldschmidt or someone like that makes money, and they'll retain Tyler Glasnow for next year at $25 million. If they're serious, if they're going to follow through on what they've said they're going to do in terms of spending money, then I want to see that. And if they do it, I'll be floored. I'll be absolutely floored. And if they don't, they're not serious about it. They're fooling you folks.
Well, I mean, they still got till 6 p.m. tonight to see if something happens. A Goldschmidt, I think that's almost a dream at this point. That's such
Why?
I don't know. I just can't see the Cardinals. I just can't see the Cardinals making that big of a move. It's not the Rays. It's more the Cardinals that I can't see making a big move like that and truly blowing up their core, including Paul Goldschmidt. That's just kind of the way I feel about it. And I feel like that's how a lot of teams are feeling. Like the hitters that are coming off the market, like you're seeing like Scherzer was moved and Verlander might be moved. Like hitters are a lot different. Like who's the best hitter that's been moved so far at the deadline? Who's the best hitter that's been moved? A lot of the best hitters are almost off the market right now.
Well, there's still some available. I don't care who's been moved and where they've gone.
I mean, I threw you some of the names out yesterday, like the ones at Seattle. And now I think it's interesting. The Rays, if you paid attention to the reports yesterday, before they went and got Aaron Civale, they called Seattle. And they were sniffing around at some of their young pitchers, which I kind of already had said earlier or yesterday on the show, that there was the report earlier that Seattle did not want to move their young guys. So clearly the Rays, they pivoted and went to go get Aaron Civale instead of, a Logan Gilbert or, a George Kirby, some of the guys they probably really wanted ahead of Civale over there in Seattle. But they got Civale, and like I said, it was a great deal. The whole thing about the spending the money, I'm going to be honest with you. I think for what they have in Aaron Civale compared to some of the other deals that have been made for starting pitchers, and I'm going to look at the other three, the big three, Giolito, Scherzer, and Lance Lynn. Those three guys netted I think, a more substantial return in some respects than what Cleveland got for Civale, and that's still with the fact that the Rays have control over him. I think that's a really big thing for the Rays. Whether you like it or not, a big thing for them is having team control over these guys for the next few seasons. The other three pitchers who got moved, they got
can make money. So they can make money. Well, who cares? I don't give a shit if they make money. I want them to win.
But I'm telling
you, Aaron Civale. I like Aaron Civale for what he is as a pitcher. It's a great move. And the only reason I'll say that it's good that they have control over him so they can go pay somebody like Paul Goldschmidt. But they're not going to do it because all they care about is making freaking money and fooling people like you that think that they're in it to win a World Series, because they're not.
Well, I will say this. I think that this offense, in my opinion, and it's very streaky. It's been very streaky this year, okay? That's fair. With the pitching they have in the starting rotation and the pitching they have in the bullpen, which has been, I would say, great over the last 2 months, I think that's fair. And they've made it, and let's give them credit. They've made additions to the bullpen. Bob Stevenson, he's nasty. He's been great since they got him up here, right? And that was a trade they made. Zach Littell was a guy they got off waivers. He's been really, really good since they got him. You count that as a move. Jake Diekman has been fantastic since they got them.
I have no problem with the pitching.
They've essentially made 4 or 5 moves throughout the but that's
great. Go get a hitter. You can't win without hitting in the postseason.
Hold up. I would love to see them go get a hitter as well. I'm just saying I think they view it this way, and in some respects I view it this way as well. The pitching is so far superior, in my opinion. Their starting rotation and their bullpen is so much more far superior than the other teams in the AL as a whole, that they think they can get by with the offense that they have, and that's the recipe here.
They're wrong. You know what? Exhibit A, last year, they pitched great against Cleveland. They were fantastic against Cleveland. What did get them?
They did.
Bye-bye. Can't score a run in 15 innings. You're gone with this offense. You want to go see that again? Fine. I'm not interested.
I don't think I don't think the offense is exactly the same. It's not the same offense as last year. And I'll give you a couple examples. Was Josh Lowe doing what he's doing now last year? The answer is no. Was Luke Raley doing what he does this year? Was he doing that last year? No. Isak Paredes, who, by the way, is on track to hit 30 home runs, like I said at the beginning of the year, he's been fantastic for your Rays in the middle of the order. Is he the same player this year as he was last year? No. He's substantially better. Yandy Diaz is substantially better. You're seeing good signs that are one getting going. Relau's on his hot streak. Randy's got to get going. They have guys in the lineup. I'm not going to sit here and say this is a terrible lineup or something like that. At its best, and when they score 4 runs, by the way, they are 56-18 when they score 4+ runs, and more often than not, your pitching is going to stay under that.
They can't score 4 runs. They can't score 4 runs in the playoffs. We saw that last year, even against Cleveland.
That was last year.
Yeah, but this is a regular season team. All this stuff you're talking about, all this stuff you're talking about is regular season, where you're facing 30% of the elite pitching that you're going to face in the playoffs. When you get in the playoffs, it's elite pitching. This team fails against elite pitching. Just look at last night when Herman's not even elite, but when he came in, it was lights out. So listen, I saw all last year, and I've seen the last 2 months. That's who these guys are offensively. Average at best. At best. If they don't add a significant hitter, they ain't doing squat in the playoffs, and they're probably not going to win the division. Because guess what? The Orioles are going to go out and spend money because they know they got a chance.
Have they? How do you have confidence they are? This is the same team that was tanking for like 4 years in a row and won 50 games 2 years ago.
Let's wait and see after 6 o'clock today. And if the Rays go out and do something, I'll be the first one to applaud them.
Who's to say they can't? They acquired, like I said, they acquired a frontline starter with team control for the next 2 seasons, and they only had to give up 1 prospect who was blocked by a lot of other guys.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's a bad move, Nick. I'm saying if they don't do more,
they still have flexibility to make another move.
Okay, if they want. Go do it. Go do it. Show me. Go do it.
Well, we'll see you got till 6 o'clock.
Let's go. Let's go.
You got till 6 o'clock.
And I'm not even pointing the finger at Neander because Neander's out there making deals, and Stu's probably sitting there going, counting his money, going, no. So let's.
Well, all I'm saying is, if it's not a Paul Goldschmidt, I don't think you should be that disappointed if it's not something as big as that.
And I know this is why I'm being so, because I know Stu's watching, and he's going to do this just to spite me. So in the end, I'm going to get what I want. I'm either going to be right or get what I want. So I'm going to win by tomorrow. Either way, I'm either going to get Paul Goldschmidt or a big hitter, or I'm going to be right. So either way, I win. But thanks, Stu.
Yeah, I know how you work. Jeremy says trade for Longo, ? Well, he's on the injured list, so he can't be traded.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. There'll be no Longo reunion this year. But no, I don't know. I think just in the grand scheme of things, like I said, I love the move yesterday. They still have the flexibility to go make another one if they like. I don't get caught up on the money because I think the deal that they made yesterday, I think is a better deal than what the Rangers did for Scherzer. I think it's a better deal than what the Angels did for Giolito, and I think it's a better deal than what the Dodgers did for Lance Lynn.
I would agree. I would agree with all that. Great job. You made a good deal. Now go out and complete the team. All right, let's get into some other things here because we got we're going to talk a lot of Bucks today with Scott Reynolds at 10:30, TJ Reeves at 11. So I want to get into a little bit about the game last night as well. Great job by Glasnow. 7 innings, 3 hits, 8 strikeouts. He's the key. He's the key to this whole thing. If he can stay healthy, and obviously McClanahan as well, we've got a great shot at doing what we need to do. And your boy Brandon Lau with a big home run last night. Let's listen up. If you got that ready to go.
Yeah, let me cue the Brandon Lau home run, who was on a absolute heater. This was a fastball by Yandy Brito.
Yes.
And Mr. Brandon Lau did not.
Not Domingo Germán.
It was not Domingo Germán. It was Yandy Brito. And here was the home run from your boy Brandon Lau.
And he sends a fly ball into right field, pretty well tagged. Stanton's going to go to the wall, and that one is gone. Home run for Brandon Lau. Lau hit one in Houston yesterday, a 2-run shot, and he gets the Rays on the board early tonight with a 2-run blast. His 14th home run, and the Rays grab a 2-0 lead.
So that's what, 5 home runs in his last 16 games. He's, the dog is getting hot finally.
And he's not striking out as much as since he's come back from the injured list. He's actually not striking out that much. So he's clearly made an adjustment there.
Yeah, finally. That's good. let's keep it going.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. I'd rather see Brandon Lowe heat up in August and September than heat up in May and June. I'm not trying to excuse. Right. I'm not trying to excuse the 2 months that he was extremely ice cold by any means. And listen, I've had my battles with Brandon Lowe where I'm in on Brandon Lowe and then I'm out on Brandon Lowe, and he gives you hope because I know in Brandon Lowe the 39 home run guy is still there. The guy that's finished in the top 10 in MVP voting 2 consecutive seasons in 2020 and 2021, it's in there. I just wish I saw it more consistently is all.
Right. And in the postseason.
And in the postseason where he's been an absolute albatross.
Right. So good win last night. Does Cash talk about in the post about Civale as well? You want to listen to that?
I think he does as well. I think he does, if I'm not mistaken. They didn't post the Neander little presser that he gave where he had his quotes, but
Kevin, some early runs, not letting your foot off the gas pedal offensively, and then a phenomenal performance from Tyler Glass. Now, just how would you sum up this one?
Good win, big win. Something to build off for to be able to get out of Houston the way we did and then come in here and play really, really well. Clean baseball for the most part. Glasnow was really good. Always nice. Brandon comes up, hits a home run. Wander tacks another one on. The home runs kept coming from Isak and J-Lo. Highlight certainly Glass.
Yeah, Glass now 3 consecutive starts now, 7 innings. Has he just hit his stride with that efficiency?
Yeah, I mean, I don't recall him doing that in the past with us. I don't know if that's the first time that to get there, but he is. He's super efficient and pretty dominant. I mean, when you go through a whole outing and there's only one pitch you want back, and I think it was probably the breaking ball to Bowers, you got to be really pleased with yourself.
Brandon Lowe said he's been watching video from 2020 and 2021, which we know what we saw from him there. What's the difference you're seeing from him this past couple weeks?
He does look similar to that form for sure. I know the home run was big. Might be just as encouraging that he drove that ball to left center like he did. When Brandon's at his best, he can hit balls out of the ballpark to anywhere. I'm shocked that ball did not get out, but happy for Brandon.
Not to over dramatize, but did it feel and look a little bit more like you were playing earlier in the season with a bunch of different guys contributing, hitting 4 balls?
Yeah, definitely. It did feel that way and want it to continue to feel that way.
And then Glass, now what is working so much, you think?
I mean, it's just he's in the zone constantly. He's throwing strikes. The hitters have to go up there and respect that he's going to throw a strike from pitch 1. He's working ahead of everybody, and when you have that type of stuff and complement it with the strike throwing, he's putting himself in a spot to have some really deep outings.
Like Wanderers maybe refound something a little bit, wanted to see results, he's putting them together?
I do, and said, told him today that he had a really good series for us in Houston. It can motivate you playing these types of teams, and I feel like he's, the intent behind his swings, today he was looking to drive a couple pitches, so happy for him as well.
A little bit of a concern there with Yandy for a minute.
You know what? Not overly concerned. I mean, we'll always be concerned when he grimaces like that, but he's going to have to manage this, and he knows that, I think, probably the rest of the way. Ideally, if there's times to get him DH or, if we got some off days coming, that'll help, but he wants to be in there.
Strange at all thinking Herman got scratched, then he comes out of the bullpen, or do you know that was potentially on the table?
No, I didn't know, but, I mean, they gave us plenty of heads up that Brito was going to start, so no.
What was that? So I'm listening to Aaron Boone, and he said that they scratched Herman because of armpit discomfort. Never. Armpit discomfort. Then he said he threw off the mound around 6 o'clock and was fine.
Right.
How do you not start him then?
I thought Aaron Boone was trying to be like Kevin Cash and try to be one of those smart managers,
Exactly.
But he's really not. That's just the way I kind of viewed that one. It's just a perplexing move over a pitcher who I thought has really had the Rays number the last few times you faced him. And then you go with, the youngster, Johnny Brito instead. And, he's got some nasty stuff. I saw that in glimpses last night, but really the Rays had no problem hitting it. hit 4 home runs off the guy. And, that just doesn't it just kind of sums up who the Yankees are?
Well,
They're
it so does.
They're
It so does.
They're dysfunctional. They're so dead in the water. There's no hope for the Yankees.
Yeah.
There's no hope. And I take so much joy that at the trade deadline, the Rays get to play them and just get to let them know where they stand. Last place in AL East. I absolutely love it.
Love it. And then he comes back and says, and then Herman said he was okay and wanted to pitch. So he goes out there and pitches 5 great innings against the Rays, but it's too late by that time. And the Rays pitching was fantastic, but Booney, I think you're right. I think he's like, "Ooh, I'm gonna throw an opener at him when they're not expecting it, and we get them off balance, and then I'll bring in Herman." And I'm like, "Yeah, damage already done, you knucklehead." Golly.
And by the way, a note real quick on the offense that you're not sold on, by the way. And maybe I don't even know how I really feel about it. I'm not trying to excuse the last 2 months of the season, but I just wanted to feel good about the Rays today because I've had a lot of negativity and I think rightfully earned towards this team. I mean, it's the first time they've won in back-to-back days, if you can believe it, since June. They just went a whole month without winning in back-to-back days, okay?
Wow.
So not everything was always rosy, but I'm trying to enjoy it a little bit today. They made a great move. They've won 3 of their last 4 against the Astros and the Yankees, 2 teams that we despise. So I'm trying to enjoy it a little bit. But Isaac Paredes last night, and I don't know if we talk about him enough, he took the lead yesterday for the Rays in home runs. I believe he leads his team in RBIs as well. And for you not thinking they have enough hitting, I'm just going to point this out here, and the numbers are the numbers. WRC plus, a great way to judge a hitter and all those things. Obviously, the number 1 player in the American League is Ohtani, and that's not going to change. But you know who's number 2 and 3 on that list in the entire American League? Yandy Diaz, followed by Isaac Paredes. The Rays have 2 of the top 3 hitters in the American League at this moment.
Yeah, and where's their overall offense ranked?
In that number,
I don't give a shit about WRC plus. Runs
say that.
I
knew you were say that.
Runs scored over the last 2 months, 2.5 months. Where do they rank?
They're
the bottom of the American League.
Towards the bottom.
After a ridiculous start, everybody caught up to them. And now here we are. This is the reality of who they are. And by the way, as if you don't know, I don't care about your mental happiness. I care about being objective about this.
You know what?
You want to have a little party for your 2-game win streak? Go make yourself a cake, blow out the candles.
They're still number 2 in the American League in runs. They're still number 2 in the American League.
Over the last 2.5 months, where are they?
The entire season.
I'm talking about the last 2.5 months, which is who they are.
I understand they're towards the bottom, but they are number 2 in the American League in the grand scheme of things over the course of the season and runs, and they are
29-7 was a myth. It was a myth. 29-7. Enjoy it. That was fun. That's when you had your birthday cake, and you can feel good about the way we're all feeling good. Listen, I want this team to win a World Series. I'm tired of all the bull crap. I want a World Series, and they have a team that can do it if they just add one big piece. Look at what everybody else is doing. You think this team can compete with the Rangers right now and the Astros? They can't. They can't. And you know it. They may not even be able to compete with the Orioles. They've got to do something. This is the same shit they do every year. They give you a little bit of hope, play meaningful games in September. He cashes his checks and moves on. I'm tired of it. Put your money where your effing mouth is.
So negative today. You're so negative. The Rays are going to catch the Orioles in the American League East. I'm just going to put that out there right now because the Orioles do not have the frontline starting pitching, in my opinion, to hold up when we get to the meaningful games which begin tonight in August and September.
They might after today. We shall see.
If they go and get Verlander,
real quick before we get to Scott Reynolds and we go all Bucks because we're going to go Bucks here in a little bit. The FSU to the Big Ten, and Kurt Weiler from the Osceola is going to join us here at 11:30. Spoke to some people. There's a Board of Trustees emergency meeting that has been scheduled for tomorrow. This is real. There's a lot of smoke here, folks. I don't know if it's going to happen right now. There's a lot of legal BS that's going back and forth. As we told you a couple of months ago, I spoke to some people that were looking at the grant and rights deal that the Noles have with the ACC, and they told me at that time that they feel there are some legitimate loopholes in how it has been administered. There's a nice article out there about how the FSU was defrauded by the ACC in terms of their grant of rights. You can read that. I'll retweet it. It's a very interesting article. And basically they've been trying to make the case to the league that, look, we're going to make a move here and we have legal standing to do it. I think they feel like they're at that point right now, but if they're actually pulling the trigger, we'll see. But and I don't think it's an SEC thing. We've been telling you this for a long time. It seems like culturally, obviously, FSU would be better in the SEC, but frankly, the SEC doesn't need FSU in terms they wouldn't add anything more to their southeastern footprint, right? They already own the Southeast in terms of television homes, which is where most of the money comes from. But for the Big Ten, it's a huge upgrade for them to gain the state of Florida, especially with a program like FSU that's on the rise. That makes economic sense. And as we always say here at the show, follow the money. So I think this FSU to the Big Ten thing is real. I'm not saying it's done, but I think it's very, very real. And and FSU may be using this to get more concessions from the ACC to get a bigger slice of the pie because they deserve it, frankly. Then Wake Forest getting the same amount of money, media money as FSU is a joke. So this is how these things work. It's a power play. Well, they're either going to get the money from the ACC or they're going to move to the Big Ten. So we shall see how it all turns out. But there's definitely something there. Kurt Weiler is going to join us coming up at 11:30 to give us more on that. The United States women's national team almost choked last night against Portugal. They didn't even score a goal. This is the worst performance in the round robin in the history of the World Cup. And you got to believe a lot of it is because of all the stupid silliness that they've been having on this team for a long, long time. They need to get serious and go play some soccer. They're going to get bounced out of this before they even get on the medal stand. That performance in this round robin early stage was terrible. You would have to agree with me on that, Nick.
Well, I just think they're kind of in kind of that middle land right now where they have all this like youth coming up.
Yeah. And
then at the same time, they have some of the old guard that is still remaining. And so they're kind of in the middle of I don't want to say like a youth takeover, but kind of close to that. And I just feel like they're trying to find balance. It's a new head coach, I believe, for the first time in this World Cup. And I've seen some things about some of the younger players not playing as much. They have not been sharp. And I think a lot of the world has caught up to them as we've gotten further along.
True.
In women's soccer. That's just the nature of the beast. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I watched the game last night. I did not stay up till 3 a.m. in the morning.
No, I didn't either.
To watch the game. I like everybody woke up, saw the highlights, saw the score, saw the whole Carly Lloyd thing that she said yesterday on the Fox broadcast, which was really interesting, and she would know the team dynamic probably better than anybody.
What did she say?
She was pretty upset that the team was celebrating as hard as they were and dancing and laughing after the game, and the camera had kind of focused in on Rapinoe and Alex Morgan, two of the team leaders, the two elder statesmen of that team, and she called it pretty unacceptable, and I've never seen something like this, and they need to start, she said she saw a lack of passion on the field, and that I think her money line was, why are you celebrating? The post was the player of the game, which if you saw there in the 91st minute, that Portugal shot that hit the post and would have gone in, and that would have doomed the U.S. So a lot of division, it seems like, over the U.S. women's national team, depending on how people feel about them. But I'm still rooting for them. Still rooting for them.
I am too. Most of them. All right, we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, Scott Reynolds will join us for the Pewter Report. We're going to go all Bucks all the time for the next half hour, 45 minutes. Lots to get into. The quarterback competition, what we've seen so far, first day in pads, all that good stuff. Scott Reynolds coming up next here on the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES, lawgroup.com. Get the personal attention you so richly deserve. Great folks over there. If you have any legal issues whatsoever, certainly if you get into an accident, it's got to be your first call, because they will call you back and they will give you great personal attention, and they will fight for you and get you a great settlement. The Jeeves Law Group. Back in 3. Stay with us.
Guys, are you experiencing those feelings of getting older, lower sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, or you just don't feel like you had the vitality you once had? It's a chronic problem here in the United States. You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well. So do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area modern medicine. Look, testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability, not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Folks, I've been on testosterone therapy for over 6 years, and it is a life changer. You will feel and look better than you did 10 years ago. Give them a call at 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group. Have you been injured in an accident, in an auto accident, truck accident, motorcycle accident, at work, or at a place of business? Well, call the Jeeves Law Group and get the personal attention that you deserve. I made the mistake many, many years ago with going with one of the bigger law firms, the national law firms. And let me tell you, getting a call back from those folks was next to impossible. Weeks and weeks would go by, never get a call back. That doesn't happen with the Jeeves Law Group. Personal attention is what they're all about. When you call the Jeeves Law Group, you will be part of the family. They will represent you in a vigorous and aggressive way against the insurance companies. These larger companies will promise bigger settlements, but it's the Jeeves Law Group that will get you the best results. If you're tired of dealing with these bigger law firms, check out the Jeeves Law Group. Go to JeevesLawGroup.com, tell them JP sent you, get a free consultation. It's the Jeeves Law Group. Scott Jeeves has been representing clients in the Tampa Bay area for over 25 years. Give them a call. It's a free call, 727-894-2929, 727-894-2929, or go to JeevesLawGroup.com.
During COVID, over 1.7 million people were added to the Florida Medicaid rolls, but as of April 1st, 2023, most of these people may not be eligible for the Medicaid coverage and will lose their health plan. If you have been notified you are losing your coverage, don't freak out. It's very likely you can apply for a federal subsidy under the Affordable Care Act. Just call 877-652-0244. Our representatives will walk you through the whole process, get some basic information on your income, number of kids, and then they'll find a plan that best fits your needs. In fact, with the new laws, 90% of Americans qualify for reduced or free health care. You can select great plans like Florida Blue. That's my carrier. Love them. Paying $800 left after making the call. 877-652-0244. Our highly trained professionals know all the intricacies of the new laws. They will do all the work. You save tons of money. So if you're being dropped from Medicaid, fear not. Call 877-652-0244. Get real health insurance, free doctor visits, free blood work, no deductibles. 877-652-0244.
Hey, JP here for Extravaganza Productions Incorporated, EPI. You've probably seen their purple logo at so many events that you've gone to. They are based in Tampa. And for over 33 years, they've been creating and producing conferences, meetings, and special events, the biggest to the smallest. Solid reputation of delivering the best audio-visual, sound, lighting, entertainment, video production, and decor on time and on budget. I've worked with them with so many big events. The Warrior Games, which was an Olympic-style event all over Tampa Bay, from McDill to the Convention Center to USF. They did it flawlessly, made it look big and fantastic. I've worked with them on small events as well, large and small meetings and conferences, sporting events, fundraisers. If you got a fundraiser, you don't know the logistical way to pull it off, they'll take care of everything. Entertainment events, branding events, grand openings, so much more. The folks at Extravaganza Productions are the most professional and the best. I've worked with them many times. They are fantastic. You can contact them through extravaganzaproductions.com or call 813-621-4700. Extravaganza Productions, they are awesome.
Coming back at you. Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here as we roll on, brought to you by Bay Area Armada Medical Center, BAMMC.com. If you're looking to lose weight, get your nutrition in line, get your testosterone right, Bay Area Armada Medical Center. If you're interested in some stem cell procedures, we talked a lot about that with Chris Lugo yesterday in the Ryan Jensen situation. So check them out at BAMMC.com. They are cutting edge and will get your body and health in the right place. All right, let's bring in our good friend Scott Reynolds from the Pewter Report. What's up, Scotty? How are you, my friend?
Doing good. Excellent, actually. Excellent.
Am I going to see you in Canton?
I'm going to be there. So just going to ask you. Yeah, I'm going as well. So I'll see you up there.
you staying in Canton, Cleveland? Where?
North Canton. Yeah.
North Canton. Okay.
Yeah,
my son's coming in on Friday. We're going to spend a day in Cleveland to do a little exploration, and then
you flying in Cleveland on Thursday?
Yes, on Friday.
Okay. On Friday.
morning.
Okay, yeah. Flying in on Thursday and then leaving Sunday. So, are you going to the after party?
Oh, you damn right I am. CeeLo Green, baby.
CeeLo Green. I know. I love it. Yeah, that's going to be cool. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it. And I mean, we got to throw a little tidbit in here about Rondé.
Yeah.
Both of us, maybe our favorite Buccaneer ever.
Yep.
For a lot of different reasons. I'm just so happy for him, the family, everything. And I just,
right there.
I'm so glad that he's going to take his rightful place. I know we've talked a lot about this, but it means a lot to me. I know it means a lot to you. It should mean a ton to Buccaneer fans. It's just validation of that great defense and what Rondé embodied, all of it, and I think very much the culture of this city as well.
I love John Lynch, and I'm not going to slander John Lynch in any way, shape, or form. Rondé deserved to be in first over John. John had a Hall of Fame career.
I agree.
Rondé's was better. And it starts with this question: who's the best defensive back in Bucs history? It's Rondé Barber, hands down. So if he's the best defensive back in Bucs history, then he has to get in before John. I know John won a Super Bowl with the Broncos, or playoffs or whatever, got a couple more Pro Bowls, etc. But I'm just telling you, not only was Rondé Barber one of the best Buccaneers, and this is something John Gruden's famous for saying, and I echo it wholeheartedly. Rondé Barber was pound for pound the toughest Buccaneer in franchise history.
No doubt.
And I love when Raheem Morris, he put pictures of Rondé Barber in the training room. Okay. And the reason why he put pictures of Rondé Barber in the training room is because Rondé Barber was never in the training room. Okay. The dude always played. He didn't miss time with little nagging injuries. It's like when he broke his finger, he had surgery on a Tuesday, was back at practice on a Wednesday with a broken finger, and played through a torn knee ligament. Yeah. In the Super Bowl and even during his 92-yard pick six against the Eagles, which shut down the vet. That was the play in franchise history, was doing that with torn ligaments in his knee. So
you can see him limping a little bit as he's running down. Yeah. He's got a little hitch in his giddy up.
In my opinion, when you look at the Mount Rushmore of Buccaneers, right? It's Leroy Selman, it's Warren Sapp, it's Derek Brooks, and it's Rondé Barber. I think Rondé Barber makes it as the fourth. I really do. No one played longer. No one played more games. He was the second leading tackler in franchise history behind Derek Brooks. I don't know that anyone's ever going to play 16 years for the Buccaneers. He is just special. The only member of the 45-20 club. Just a phenomenal career.
Yeah, tremendous. All right, let's talk about this what we've seen so far in camp. We haven't had John since we started. And I guess we'll start with the headline. Kyle Trask is for real.
Yeah.
And he's gonna battle Baker Mayfield. From what I've seen, he's remade his body. His delivery is completely different. He's gone from a squatty ear thrower to a stand tall, high delivery thrower, and it's affected his velocity. It's affected his effectiveness. His accuracy is better. I think this is the legit competition. What are your thoughts?
Todd Bowles in the offseason said this unprovoked. What I mean by that is no one asked him, "Hey, Todd, who's the hardest worker on your team?" He didn't answer that question. He volunteered that. He said, Kyle Trask is the hardest worker on this team. Every time coach is looking out his window, he sees Trask out there by himself, working on his footwork, working on his mechanics with the throwing motion. And he's gotten better. He's slimmed down. We've seen him be more mobile. It's been a sight to see. It really has. And we all, and I say we meaning I as well, I'm certainly in the mix here, believe that this is still Baker Mayfield's job to lose. But there is the opportunity for Baker Mayfield to lose this job. He's thrown a couple of interceptions the last couple of days, and Trask is not. And as we've said from the beginning, actually, I didn't say it, Dave Canales said it. He's the one who's making the decision along with Todd Bowles about who the starting quarterback is going to be. It's going to come down to which quarterback protects the ball better. Because the first rule of football is you can't beat yourself. Beating the other team is hard enough. When you beat yourself with the self-inflicted wounds, we've heard Todd Bowles talk about it. We've heard Bruce Arians talk about it before them. Bucks can't beat Bucks, right? So that's always been the pathway to Trask making this a real competition and winning the starting job. Is he has to do a better job of protecting the football and making plays. And he's done that the last 2 days. Now, Sunday's practice from start to finish was the best practice Kyle Trask has ever had as a Buccaneer, ever. And that's not just my opinion. I got that from some of my team sources that agreed wholeheartedly. And he's got to string those practices along. And he's done that. 2 good practices back to back. And so we'll see if this can continue. But I really feel like this competition has amped up things big time, and it's put some pressure on Baker Mayfield now, because when you're the number one guy, you have the target on your back. And is Baker going to press and throw even more picks, or is he going to really kind of rise to the challenge as Trask has and become more accurate with his passes and not turn the ball over?
I see this as still Baker's job to lose. I agree with you there, and I think a lot of the reporting that you've seen may suggest that Baker hasn't been good. I think Baker's been pretty damn good. I mean, he opened up camp with an 80-yard touchdown to Cade Otton, right? And the next day came back and hit Cade Warner for one as well. So I think he's playing fine. I think he's doing what he has to do.
When it comes to the big plays, Baker's made more big plays. He's had more highlight throws, but he's also had some interceptions. And quite frankly, he should have had 4 interceptions yesterday, one of which was a little fluky. But at the same time, this is one of the concerns with Baker is he's short. So he had a pass tip to the line that Yaya Diaby dove and picked off at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
So that wasn't like an errant throw per se about Baker Mayfield, but it was a byproduct of him being short. So his interception came. He was trying to thread the needle into Cade Otton in the end zone. Antoine Winfield jumped the route, picked it off. At the same time, there were 2 dropped interceptions. Ryan Neal dropped one that was right in his hands from Baker, and then Nolan Turner, in a very similar fashion to how Antoine Winfield came from the safety spot, jumped the route. Nolan Turner did the exact same thing, almost a carbon copy play, but he couldn't bring it in. So when you're a quarterback's coach and you're an offensive coordinator and head coach, you evaluate those things too. It's not just the touchdowns that were caught that work in your favor. They're going to give you credit for touchdowns that were dropped because you did your job. You put the ball right on the money. Right. Receiver dropped it. But conversely, those interceptions that you throw, those count. And the ones that the DBs drop, those count too against you.
And so when you look at who these guys are kind of throwing to, obviously we know Mike and Chris are going to be dependable, and those are your 2 guys. But of the other guys left, receivers, tight ends, and I've heard good things about your boy Cade Warner, the Kansas State kid, and Raheem Jarrett I've heard things from as well. Which of those guys, if maybe it's those 2 who have shined the most, you think, so far through camp?
I think they both had their moments, and it's going to be really interesting. Trey Palmer is also in the mix as well. I think those 3 rookies have really stood out. Tay Barber has had like little flashes here and there. David Moore, the veterans, had some flashes here and there. But I would say Trey Palmer, if I had to make the depth chart right now, I think 1 through 4 is obviously Mike and Chris and Russell Gage and Devin Tompkins. He's going to be the return guy, I believe. So we're going to put him in at wide receiver 4. He's also showed up on offense as well. But Trey Palmer, probably wide receiver 5, and then probably Raheem Jarrett 6. And then 7, and there's not going to be a 7. This is practice squad, but probably Cade Warner is right there as well. And it's going to come down to the preseason games because what you do under the lights matters. Practice is one thing. The practices here in Tampa, they count. The practices against the Jets next week will count more.
Huge.
And then or I should say 2 weeks from now, but the games count even more. So you're going to have 3 opportunities to really show what you can do under the lights. And we've seen it before. Jalen Darden's got all this hype during OTAs and looks good in camp. Then the pads come on, right? And then all of a sudden people pick on Pewter Report and others. Well, you were hyping Jalen Darden. Well, he was doing a good job before the pads came on. We just report what we see, right? And sometimes these guys, they wilt under the pressure of the spotlight and under the lights. I remember Kenny Bell from a couple years ago was making big play after big play after big play in practice, and then in the games just wilted, under the pressure. So the games count; they're important. And sometimes it's like you see a guy who's just kind of, doing enough to kind of hang around during practices, and then all of a sudden, boom, just explodes during the games, and you're like, wow, where did he come from? It's like, well, sometimes guys are gamers,
Yeah. And some guys step up that you never thought would step up, didn't know their names. David Wells is one of those
David
guys,
Wells,
tight end. And I've said I think this tight end room needs something. It needs a jolt. It needs a little something different. And they found a guy who's been around the league for a while. Didn't
6
realize
years,
that. Heard you guys
like
talking
8
on
teams.
your podcast, and I'm like, David Wells, the old Yankees pitcher, he's back. What's he doing? This is crazy.
He's the oldest tight end in the room. He's 28, but he actually has fewer catches than Cade Otton, who's in his second season. So
who is this guy? What is he doing?
He was a practice squad player last year, 6'6", 260 pounds, moves really well, catches the ball well. It just sometimes guys are late bloomers. Sometimes guys just they don't get the opportunities, right? And like Kyle Trask didn't get the opportunities. One thing I applaud Dave Canales and Todd Bowles for doing is when John Wolford, the third string quarterback, is out there on the field, he's got the third string offensive line. He's got the third string back. He's got the third string tight end going up against third string defenders. But then Canales gives him Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, and guess who John Wolford's throwing to? He's throwing touchdowns to Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. He's like, sorry, Cokeef, you're not going to get the ball because I got Mike in the huddle, Sorry, Chase Edmonds, I'm not going to check it down to you. I have Chris Godwin in my huddle. So, but see, that's important because as the 49ers showed last year, you're 2 plays away from that third string guy playing. And John Wolford played last year for the Rams because Matthew Stafford was hurt. And why would you want to do to John Wolford what you did for the last 2 years under Byron Leftwich with Kyle Trask, which is never give him any reps, even in practice, with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, right? And so it's only a couple plays, but at least on Sundays, if you have to play Wolford, if there's an injury or ineffectiveness or whatever, and he has to go out there, he's got something that he can build on and remember and rely on from camp. Hey, I've thrown a fade touchdown pass to Mike Evans. We're down here at the 13-yard line. I know what to do. Mike knows what to do, right? So just those little things just show me how much Dave Canales just gets it as a first-time offensive coordinator.
So it looks like, the Bucs got all things considered, good news on the Calijah Kancey front. But with that being said, obviously he wasn't able to do a single practice, I believe, in pads. And he might miss.
Stinks for him. Yeah.
I mean, I was listening to your podcast, and I think you said you wouldn't be surprised if you didn't see him again until the regular season.
Probably.
Potentially. Given just I guess the uphill battle potentially that he's facing, being a smaller size defensive tackle, not getting the padded practices. Is this something that you think potentially hurts his development or how impactful he could be in year one?
Yeah, it does. There's no doubt about it. I saw it with Zion McCollum last year. I was in Tennessee when he pulled up with the hamstring injury. Now, he wasn't counting on being a starter, right? You had Sean Murphy-Bunting even in the mix, so he was really cornerback 4. But like we talked about, you're a couple injuries away, a couple plays away from starting, and we saw Zion McCollum have to start last year because Sean Murphy-Bunting missed time, Carlton Davis missed time, Jamel Dean missed time, right? So, and I had a very frank conversation with Zion the other day after his pick 6 in camp off Kyle Trask, and he said, yeah, I felt behind all year. Like all year long, it's just I was like a step behind trying to play catch up because once you're in season mode, the teaching stops. They don't really work on fundamentals and individual development outside of a few minutes in practice. Otherwise, this is the guy you're going against. These are his tendencies. These are the route concepts they like to run. And it's all game planning for your opponent, not working on your own individual development. So it's very hard to kind of jump on the train once it's already been going down the tracks. And so I think with Calijah Kancey not getting some of those reps in the first couple of games, these preseason games, he's not going to experience a double team block until Minnesota when it counts, right, in week 1. Now, the flip side of this is what it is doing is it's getting Logan Hall some necessary reps in nickel pass rush situations, and that's only going to further and speed along his development. And he's got a little bit of a head start because Logan played last year as a rotational player, 2.5 sacks. So if you're looking for the silver lining, that's what it is. Logan Hall is getting some reps now because in the base defense, it was going to be Vita in the middle, Logan Hall, and Kalijah Kancey in that 3-4 scheme. Now, when Todd Bowles goes to his nickel package, which is a 4-man front, 2 defensive tackles, your edge rushers, Shaq Barrett and JTS on the outside, those 2 defensive tackles in nickel have been Kalijah and Vita Vea. So now Logan's getting those extra reps in nickel as that replacement for Kalijah Kancey. So it's just going to further his development along. And maybe Kalijah doesn't get as many reps initially because Logan's earned those in the preseason. We'll have to see. But yeah, anytime you're a rookie player and you miss the preseason games because you're going to play a lot as a rookie in preseason, it does hurt.
Yeah, I talked to other defensive linemen. I said this on the show yesterday, and this is in your rookie season especially. You're coming to the NFL, and everything you did in college that worked for you, those particular techniques,
they don't work.
And those moves, they don't work, or they don't work as good as they used to.
Well, yeah.
Right, so you got to figure out, you got to dial it in and figure out what does work against NFL offensive linemen. He's in pads, and now he's going to miss that opportunity. Yeah. So as you said, it's going to be catch up all year long.
I remember talking to Logan Hall last year.
Yeah.
And before the season started, and I said, I'm just curious, what's your personal goal in terms of sacks? He's like, well, I got 6 last year at Houston. I want 6 this year. And I said, good luck. And he kind of looked at me. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, all right, well, I'm just going to put it out there. The 3 Pro Bowl defensive linemen in the modern era, defensive tackles for the Buccaneers, all first-round picks. I'm including Logan because he was the first pick in the second round, the Bucs' first selection back in 2021 or 2022. And I said, let's go back and see. Warren Sapp as a rookie, 3 sacks. Gerald McCoy as a rookie, first-round pick, 3 sacks. Do you want to guess how many sacks Vita Vea, first-round pick, got for the Bucs as a rookie? 3. Yeah. So I said, I'm not saying you're not going to get 6. I'm just saying it's hard to get 3. And what did Logan Hall end up with? 2.5. So it is so hard for rookie defensive tackles to come in and just make a huge impact. It's a position that you're going up against guys, and there is a thing, and trust me, my 20-year-old son Caden and my 18-year-old son Logan know exactly who the strongest man in the house is. It's 51-year-old dad here, because grown man strength is real.
It is.
You can lift all your weights and flex your muscles and stuff. Let's go out in the backyard and we'll see how those muscles work, right? And it's the same thing in the trenches, man. It's like you get some 31-year-old grizzled, skills on the decline offensive lineman at guard. He just manhandles this young,
technique
stud kid from college first-round pick because of the technique and just that grown man strength. It's real. Like I can't bench as much as my kids, but like out in the backyard,
come at
you want a shot at the title? We're gonna do this. You know what I'm saying? So it just that's a real thing. And I mean, I've even talked to Tristan Wirfs, who, I mean, he's a freak. He's an alien. He's a mutant. And it's like, he'll even say, God, Cam Jordan is so strong.
Yeah.
But you would look at those two and you're like, youth should be served, right? There's football. It's a young man's game. In the trenches, it's not. It is still an old man's game. You got to have that old man strength. And with Kalijah Kancey being 286 and barely 6 feet tall, he's going to find out. And unfortunately, he's going to find out in Minnesota, it looks like.
Right. Yeah, unfortunately.
You made a really good point there about old man strength in the trenches. And that was coming to my next point here. The part that concerns me the most about this team, or at least I think it's the biggest question mark outside of quarterback, is the right side of the offensive line.
Yeah.
If it is indeed going to be Cody Mauch and Luke Gedeke, because of such the inexperience and the small schools, all those things. We saw what happened last year when Gedeke made the move to left guard, and it took way too long for the coaching staff to realize that Gedeke was not it, right? And it doomed the first part of the season probably. Yep. Do you have confidence in Todd Bowles this year around, knowing the stakes are a little bit higher for him as a head coach, that if this does go south, and I said the first 3 weeks are going to be telling because those guys are going to get tough matchups with Minnesota and Philadelphia early on.
Yep.
Do you have the confidence he'll make the move then, or be a little bit more of a shorter leash on these guys?
I think so.
Cody Mauch got bounced around yesterday in some individual drills I was watching. He got lifted off his feet a couple times, and I was like, welcome to the NFL, young man.
The funny thing is, when Cody Mauch, he's hit the deck in 11-on-11 at least once per practice. And you know who the guy doing it is? Pat O'Connor. Yeah. Pat O'Connor, for whatever reason, is like the kryptonite for Cody Mauch. And Pat O'Connor's gotten big. He's like 305 now. When he came in from Eastern Michigan a couple years ago, he was like 260, 265, kind of made it as that big special teamer. And he's carved out a nice role for himself as a special teams ace for this team. Plays every unit on special teams as a blocker or a penetrator and punt, coverage, kick coverage, all that stuff. So, but he's been the guy that has been planting Cody Mauch in practice. So, but yeah, there are some concerns for sure because it's very young and inexperienced on that side of the ball. However, this offense, there's no 7-step drops. There just aren't any. There really aren't even 5-step drops. They get rid of the ball so quickly. And if they're going to take a deep shot, it's usually max protect, and it's usually a 2-man route. And thankfully, the 2-man routes have actually worked. I mean, it's been the tight end getting wide open, or it's been the deep shot to Mike. So I feel pretty good that this scheme is designed for the quarterback to get rid of the ball so quickly. The number one route that this offense runs that I love is slants.
Slants, yeah.
Because you've got guys that can really jet. Raheem Jarrett, Devin Tompkins. These guys can absolutely get instant yak. David Wells is fast. Cade Otton has got some jets as well for a tight end. And then you got some bigger receivers like Mike and Chris who they're not super like one-step explosion guys like Devin Tompkins is, but they're big guys. So all of a sudden, you got a 6'1", 210-pound Chris Godwin or a 6'5", 220-pound Mike Evans.
Or David Moore,
right. 6 foot 220. And, they make that quick cut. All of a sudden, they're using their big body to box out that cornerback or that safety or linebacker, whoever they have in trail coverage, like in their hip pocket. Now you're asking those guys to make a tackle against a big receiver, right? And they're already kind of being boxed out. So they're not going to get the ball. So it's going to be a catch. And I think that there's more potential for yards after the catch for these players I mentioned, especially Mike and Chris getting some yak, because it didn't happen nearly as much unless it was a go route in the Bruce Arians offense, because so many of those routes were either, short outs or they were comebacks or curls. Yeah, and it's fine if you have an explosive receiver that can catch the ball, turn and make a quick cut, and then juke their guy and get yards after the catch. But otherwise, you're catching the ball with your back to the end zone, and there's very few opportunities to make yards after the catch. At least with the slant, you've got your target on the run, hit him in stride, and a big guy like Mike or Chris, they can shake a tackle, and then boom, all of a sudden 8 yards turns into 18 before you know it.
Well, Scotty, great stuff as always, my friend. Love having you on the show. I look forward to seeing you up in Canton and celebrating Ron. It'll be fun, man. Thank you so much. Tell everybody where they can find all your content, the podcast, which I listen to every single day. Tell them what's up.
You can find out our podcast. Not doing one today because there's a night practice from 7 to 9, but we'll recap that tomorrow at 4 o'clock. All of our podcasts are at 4 o'clock. Typically, on the days the Bucs will practice during the regular season, there'll be Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then we'll have a podcast recapping the game on either Saturday for a preseason game or Sunday for the regular season games. You can find all of the podcasts on Pewter Report TV. That's our YouTube channel. And you can follow us on X, which used to be known as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, at Pewter Report. And, of course, don't forget the mothership, pewterreport.com, where all of our stories are, pewterreport.com.
Thanks, partner. We'll see you in Ken.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
All right, quick break. When we come back, Bucs sideline guy TJ Reeves will join us. He was out in Vegas for all the big fights, so we'll talk about that. We'll talk some Bucs, probably talk a little bit of Rays, maybe some college football. It's all coming your way here on the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com, the great place to go get healthy, get your testosterone right, get your nutrition right. It's all there for you, BAMMC.com. Back in 3. Stay with us.
All right, this is for all you guys who don't want to go to the gym and do 5,000 crunches. At Bay Area Modern Medical Center, you can get on the new True Body machine where you can reduce fat and tone up your muscle. It's like doing 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Define your body as you see fit. True Body offers personalized muscle stimulation that delivers the equivalent of those 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Just get in touch with them at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Chris Lugo and the team over there will set you up on True Body and get amazing results. Non-invasive with comfortable and little to no pain and zero downtime. You can isolate and target those areas that you want to improve and treat multiple areas simultaneously. It's an amazing machine, so check it out at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Well, Fitz the mortgage guy did it again. A listener heard his ad, was going to another big bank, but called Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services of Tampa, and Fitz saved him $618 on his monthly payment. Are you kidding me? Folks, that's big money. Rates are going up, they're going down, they're going all over the place. Scott will shop your loan and save you lender fees and get the best rates. Email him, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. That's Fitz the mortgage guy. Lots of stuff going on right now, and these rates are going all over the place. You need somebody knowledgeable in the market that will work hard for you and get you the best deal. That's my man, Scott. He's done 3 loans for me, done thousands of loans for local folks here, works with a lot of the coaches and players in the area. He's the guy. 813-294-7595, or go to scott@amstampa.com. Insurance coverage can be confusing and expensive. I mean, where do you start? Which companies can you count on to pay out fast and fair? Well, call the great folks at Italiano Insurance. It's a family-owned business. Jeff and Nat Italiano are carrying on the 60-year-plus tradition of giving amazing customer service and giving back to the community through their annual backpack drive for needy students and their support of the local pediatric cancer patients. But it's the customer service that sets them apart. They can shop all your insurance needs and save you big-time money. Don't hop on the internet and waste time looking at some bogus reviews. Talk to knowledgeable agents and not some voice-generated robot. These are confusing times for homeowners, and Italiano's team of experienced professionals can provide the right coverage for every situation: home, auto, business, life. It's Italiano for all the pieces of your life. Call 813-877-7799 or go to ItalianoInsurance.com.
During COVID, over 1.7 million people were added to the Florida Medicaid rolls, but as of April 1st, 2023, most of these people may not be eligible for the Medicaid coverage and will lose their health plan. If you have been notified you are losing your coverage, don't freak out. It's very likely you can apply for a federal subsidy under the Affordable Care Act. Just call 877-652-0244. Our representatives will walk you through the whole process, get some basic information on your income, number of kids, and then they'll find a plan that best fits your needs. In fact, with the new laws, 90% of Americans qualify for reduced or free health care. You can select great plans like Florida Blue, that's my carrier, love them, paying $800 less after making the call. 877-652-0244. Our highly trained professionals know all the intricacies of the new laws. They will do all the work. You save tons of money. So if you're being dropped from Medicaid, fear not. Call 877-652-0244. Get real health insurance, free doctor visits, free blood work, no deductibles. 877-652-0244.
Hey, JP here for Extravaganza Productions Incorporated, EPI. You've probably seen their purple logo at so many events that you've gone to. They are based in Tampa. And for over 33 years, they've been creating and producing conferences, meetings, and special events, the biggest to the smallest. Solid reputation of delivering the best audio-visual, sound, lighting, entertainment, video production, and decor on time and on budget. I've worked with them with so many big events. The Warrior Games, which was an Olympic-style event all over Tampa Bay, from McDill to the Convention Center to USF. They did it flawlessly, made it look big and fantastic. I've worked with them on small events as well, large and small meetings and conferences, sporting events, fundraisers. If you got a fundraiser, you don't know the logistical way to pull it off, they'll take care of everything. Entertainment events, branding events, grand openings, so much more. The folks at Extravaganza Productions are the most professional and the best. I've worked with them many times. They are fantastic. You can contact them through extravaganzaproductions.com or call 813-621-4700. Extravaganza Productions, they are awesome.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show with JP on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the great folks at Italiano Insurance, 877-7799. Get them to shop your insurance around and save you $1,000 on their auto insurance like they did for me. All right, let's bring in our good friend, TJ Reeves, Bucs sideline guy. What's up, TJ? How are you, my friend? You made it back from Vegas. You did not melt.
I did. And my goodness. All right. So I have just, let me set the scene. First of all, good to be with you. I've just walked the dog in the Tampa heat and humidity. So we are now, we are both experts because you were out there in it too, to compare the Tampa dampness of 105 feels like with 90% humidity versus the stick your head in an oven hot of Las Vegas, which it was. And I got to tell you, at least we get a break at night. Yeah. As we know here in this area where it cools off at night, just not the case there where we were doing a lot of stuff at night and you're standing outside going, this is stifling. Crazy. You can't breathe. And the interesting thing is that apparently the talk out there, and I'm sure you heard some of this, the Oakland A's are obviously leaving. And I believe that I think they have 1 year left on the lease. I believe Major League Baseball is going to try to be proactive and put them in Las Vegas next year. In which case they got to play in the outdoor minor league baseball park that does not have a dome, that does not have climate control. And even at night, I'm going, man, this is going to, when the minor league team does it, the Las Vegas, whatever their names are, the Isotopes or whatever they're called, they play at night.
The Albuquerque Isotopes.
Is it? Okay. I get my Pacific Coast League teams mixed up. What is the Las Vegas teams?
I thought it was the Aces, but that's the WNBA.
The Aces is the WNBA. My buddy TC Martin calls the play-by-play for them. Nick will get on the case on what is the Las Vegas minor league baseball team, but my point is they play the perspiration. The perspiration. The Las Vegas. What is it?
The Aviators.
The Aviators.
Aviators. Okay.
Right. As opposed to the incinerators. It should be the incinerators for how hot it is to try to play at night. But anyway, I had a great time out there, and I know you want to talk a little bit about that and then about the Bucs. So I'll show you a couple of photos. Again, world welterweight title fight. Terrence Crawford absolutely demolished the other unbeaten world champ, Errol Spence.
Yeah.
And nobody really believed that. Even the people that were backing Crawford didn't think one-sided beatdown. That's what it was. So a couple of things from TJ. So first of all, I got the opportunity, and I did put this on social media, to go see Jerry Seinfeld at Caesar's Palace. So there is the TJ photo with the ticket. I'm showing it to the TV audience at Caesar's Palace. Jerry was fantastic, did about an hour and 20 minutes. Very funny about marriage, which we can identify with, JP. Yes. I'll just give you the quick tip for anybody that's married. Nick, you're newly married. Jerry's going, I've been married 23 years. 23 years I've been married. And he goes, I figured out there's only two questions that ever really mattered. That's the first question of, will you go out with me? And the second question of, will you marry me? And after those two questions, nothing else you ask matters. And that's his. He goes, it doesn't matter what we're having for dinner. It doesn't matter where we're going on vacation. Don't even ask. He's going, I don't even ask. I don't ask anymore. Don't ask any questions.
I just
do.
So
that's part of his. Yeah. You just do. You just go on and do. So the interesting thing is he's touring all over the country, Seinfeld, and he's coming to Tampa at the end of September for one night, I believe, at the Seminole Hard Rock. So he will be here on the tour in our area later in the month, but he's going to Canada. He's going all over the north. He's coming back to the southeast, going back out to Vegas for 2 more nights later in the year. So he did about an hour 20 there, and that was fun to watch. So a couple of other cool ones. So here was the media center, which was a tent next to the T-Mobile Arena where the Las Vegas Golden Knights, the Vegas Golden Knights, play hockey. So inside the media center, they had the life-size photos of the fighters. So I had to get a little I had to get a little life-size photo of the two fighters. And then everybody's wondering, all right, what kind of seats? All right, so the seats down low, JP type money. This is how JP rolls. $6,000, $8,000 ringside. You notice that TJ in the media overflow is in the top of the arena, kind of like the hockey press box or the football press box. So that I'm showing to the TV audience, if you're only hearing us, that I'm up high, but I was in the arena. We watched it a lot on the video board. Because the one thing
down on the floor,
the high paying, the high rollers, and I mean there were some high rollers there. Damian Lillard of the Portland Trailblazers is there. Jerry Jones, the owner of the Cowboys.
I've never done a big fight in Vegas. It's one on my bucket list of things to cover.
This was some scene with all the A-list fighters. I was surprised that Sugar Ray Leonard was not there. The iconic Leonard Hearns fight 40 plus years ago for the world welterweight title. Thomas Hearns was there. Thomas Hearns, unfortunately, is having lots of problems, post-boxing, head trauma, etc. But Ray Leonard, not as much, and Ray was not there. I thought they were going to bring him in the ring for a big pop from the crowd. Hi, everybody. Go touch gloves with the fighters. That didn't happen. Ray was not there. But
to me, that was the greatest era of boxing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
and I will tell you
started
this.
with the Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, George Foreman.
Correct.
That group, the heavyweights that were just, back and forth. There were some other contenders in there as well. Ken Norton. That was, and then followed by
the Four Kings. They're known as the Four Kings.
Yes. The Tommy Hearns, Roberto Duran, Sugar Ray Leonard. Who am I missing?
Marvin Hagler.
Marvin Hagler. I mean, those guys, just the greatest fights I've ever seen in my life. Unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it since.
Oh, yes. And so boxing has never really been able to recapture that.
Yeah.
I don't think. Mike Tyson for a little while had the attention of everybody, but that was one guy. But in terms of four guys all fighting each other, that was the best of the best. I will say this, because I've been a fight fan for this long, and then we'll move on to the Buccaneer conversation. Terrence Crawford could have fought with those guys. The guy that scored the knockout the other night, he's now undisputed in two different weight divisions, 140 and 147. He could have fought with, I'm not saying he beats them all. He could have fought with Leonard, with Hagler, with Duran, and with Hearns and held his own in that era. He's that good. He's that talented. And other than Oscar De La Hoya, who's in the Hall of Fame as the bridge in between that era, I wouldn't say that about anybody else. I mean, all the way to the present day, I wouldn't say it about any other fighter besides Terrence Crawford, Oscar De La Hoya, the other one that could have fought in that era. So it was neat to be in the fight town. It was neat. I can tell you there were tens of thousands of people that didn't have tickets to the fight that were everywhere outside the arena. They even opened up the MGM Grand Garden Arena. So we got T-Mobile over here, and then across Las Vegas Boulevard, as you know, over here is the MGM Grand. So the MGM Grand opened up the big Grand Garden Arena to show it on TV. That's not where the fight was. And they had over 10,000 people pay whatever, $50, $75 to go watch on TV across the street. So it was crazy. It was crazy to watch all of that there the other night. So fun to be part of that in Vegas. No doubt.
We'll see if we can get JP back in here. He had a little
connection. What, did I bounce him? Did I bounce him? He'll be back here in a minute. But Nick, I just got to tell you, I survived. I'm still on the Pacific Coast body clock at the moment. I think I'm better today. It's usually like the second day. I got back Sunday night. I should be okay. These are first world problems. Now we get ready for Buccaneer training camp and everything else that's going to go on. But it was a fun time in Vegas.
I was going to ask you one more question though about the boxing, because I like getting to get these new topics. Like I find myself like I'm a newer boxing fan. I didn't watch. I watched a couple Floyd Mayweather fights during his heyday. Found it incredibly boring and was like, why am I watching this? I'm going to go watch UFC. Which on Saturday night, there was both events going on.
Right.
I went out, downtown to Soho I hate going out, but I went out just so I could have the split screen of UFC and the boxing. So I had my eyes on both.
And I'm ignorant. Where was the UFC? Was it also in Vegas
It was in Salt Lake City.
All right. So it was in Salt Lake City, but the pay-per-view was getting a lot of attention in Vegas because there was a couple of places that had it up on the marquee. Come watch it here, like in a big ballroom in Las Vegas. So how did you find it in comparison?
The boxing, now that I've started to dabble into it and I've watched, the Fury Wilder fights. I mean, for me, that's like my creme de la creme is the Fury Wilder fight, because I don't have much to compare it to. And I love like the big fight feel that you get from it. I think boxing still gets to that. And this one, I'll be honest, I've never seen these two guys fight before. But I hear all the hype, the fact that they're in like separate, like there's all these WBCs and this and that, and it's ridiculous. And it sounds like they finally got this one together. It was like years in the making. So there was all this hype coming in. So I'm just going in fresh. And obviously Crawford goes out and dominates him, which is what nobody predicted. Found that very surprising. But now that I've dabbled into Terrence Crawford, I'm looking at the record, I'm looking at all this stuff, and I'm like, man, like, and again, Floyd Mayweather for this generation is generally seen as the greatest of all time for this generation, right? But is Terrence Crawford like approaching that level, you think?
Yes.
Of stardom?
Oh, it's Hall of Fame level stuff. I mean, he's got 40 wins. He now is a world champion in 3 different weight divisions. He is the second fighter ever to hold all 4 belts in 2 divisions. So he's the undisputed champion. He's had 8 title fights, Crawford, and then I know we're going to move on to the Bucks here in a second. He's had 8 title fights at welterweight. He's won all 8 by knockout. So he is a big-time talent, and he is in his prime. And again, that guy could have competed. So good for boxing. They had a big weekend, always in the summer. Boxing always capitalized in the summer. And so it did again here in this case. And I would encourage you, Nick, and any other fight fans, go watch that Showtime documentary, The Kings, for those 4 fighters, Leonard, Hearns, Hagler, Duran. You get the whole story for those 4 episodes of how they all fought each other, and they're all 4 Hall of Fame iconic fighters. Terrence Crawford, again, belongs in that conversation with those guys. So there you go on that one, JP. We were just waxing a little bit on some boxing. We can talk some Bucks, whatever else you like.
Crawford knocked me out for a little bit there. Hit me with the right cross. Let's get into the Bucks a little bit. I've been out there for a few of these practices, and that they've actually caught a break the first few days weather-wise, but Sunday was blistering hot. But this competition between the quarterbacks is legitimate, and there's no question that Kyle Trask is here to put his stamp on.
I'm not sure, Nick, if that's just me or if we're losing him on the Wi-Fi, but I got the gist. I got the gist of the question. So here's the thing I don't know, and JP, I think you can still hear us. Here's the thing I don't know. Was Trask taking first-team reps even as recently as Sunday and yesterday? That's what I'm curious about because I haven't been there. So is he taking – that's one of the big questions is, are they alternating 1 and 1A with the reps? That's what I'm most curious about, guys.
Yeah, they've been kind of alternating first team reps for the entire camp.
Yes.
So yes,
they are.
And again, you've been out there, and JP, I'm hearing you better now. You've been out there, and they're going to make mistakes. So I keep seeing on social media, oh, Kyle Trask threw an interception. Oh, Baker Mayfield threw an interception. Well, it's training camp practice. So that's part of it. I don't know if you can early gauge who's looked good. Have they both looked good? I don't know. This is what everybody wants to know as you build to that first preseason game with the Steelers. This is what everybody wants to know on, are they both going to play in the first half with the first team in the first preseason game? Who starts that game? And is it a series or 2 at quarterback for Baker Mayfield, let's say, and then Kyle Trask? Or do they maybe start Kyle Trask and then for a series or 2, it's Baker Mayfield? And do they alternate that with the second game against the Jets after they practice with the Jets all week? I think that's what everybody's fascinated about.
Yeah. And I've been, based on what I've seen, the clips and all that, and we talked to Scott Reynolds before you and got some firsthand accounts. I mean, you could almost look at it objectively and say that Kyle Trask maybe has had a better so far start to camp than Baker. Not that Baker's been bad, but Baker's turned the ball over more than Kyle. That's been a big thing. And Kyle looks more decisive in his decision-making and all those types of things. And me personally, it's like, my gut tells me Baker eventually is going to win this job, but out of sheer curiosity, I want to see Kyle Trask to an extent. Like, and even if that's just preseason, I want to see him play. I'm talking like a full half of football in like every game. Like, I want to see the curiosity factor there.
We keep talking about this on your show, and we're going to keep talking about this over the next couple of weeks. The only way you can find out if he is ready to play, and the only way to get him ready to play, is if he plays.
Right.
The only way that you can determine can he really excel at this level is he gets the opportunity. So we'll wait and see what kind of opportunity it is for him. Again, they don't consult with me, but I've never bought into this offseason that this is Baker Mayfield's job and his alone, and he already has it. Right. I think if he gets it, and JP was talking about this, I think last week when we were on, and he's talked about it probably several times. You guys have both talked about it. Competition at every position makes you better. You don't think, just to segue it, that Servassier Dennis doing what he's doing isn't going to push Devin White to be better right now. And Russell Gage has been injured, and they've got some other wide receiver options, and he's going to get pushed. I don't think that third receiver situation is just going to be handed. The slot receiver is just going to be handed to him. Position battles are what training camp is all about. Competition is what it's all about. And I again, they saw something out of Trask with his size. He's playing in the number one conference in America. Listen to me sounding like I'm a Florida Gator. I'm not a Florida Gator, but he's playing in the number one college football conference in America, smashing records in the 1 year that he started, and they won a lot of games. So they saw potential in that, and the only way to find out if it translates at the NFL level is to give him the opportunity, and I think you'll see that opportunity in these first couple of preseason games.
JP, did you make it back here with us? You look like you got a better picture here, at least.
I think I'm better.
JP is better. JP is better than my sleep schedule right now. So the only thing we were saying in your absence is the common theme that continues. Competition makes you better, and you've got to see what Trask can do. And the one more factor that I will continue to preach here and everywhere else, what happens, God forbid, if there's an injury to Baker Mayfield? You've got to have somebody ready to go, and that somebody right now is Kyle Trask. So depending on who wins the starting job, you've got to have a backup that has played some, taken some first team reps. So that's another part of this.
I know you got to get going, TJ. So
I still have 2 minutes for you. I got 2 minutes for you. Keep going.
My quick point is, I think everybody looks down on Kyle Trask because of the first 2 years because he didn't beat out Tom Brady. I mean, right. or didn't beat out Blaine Gabbert. And I try to explain to people that was never going to happen. Blaine Gabbert was the handpicked backup to Tom Brady, and he wanted Blaine Gabbert to be his backup. That's just the way that was going to work. And Tom Brady did not secede any reps or anything to Kyle Trask. It was never about developing Kyle Trask. You can be in the room and you can listen to Tom Brady, but that's all you're going to get. So I would tell people, look at Kyle Trask as he just came out of Florida, except he's had 2 years with Tom Brady to learn the game. And how would you think of him then? He just threw for 4,000 plus yards and 46 touchdowns in Florida and almost beat Alabama in the SEC championship game. The guy's not a bum. He can play. He's done it in the highest collegiate league you can do it.
That's correct.
So, let's not just write this guy off like he's a bum. Let's give him a chance and see how good he can be.
And the proof will be in these first couple of preseason games, the training camp practices in the first couple of preseason games, and then we will go from there. I'll take you back to one, and there have been quarterback questions for this franchise for the 6 decades that it's been in existence, going back to the 70s, about who the quarterback should be. Buccaneer fans' favorite quarterback is who it's not. I still remember early 90s Sam White's just before you got to the market, and Nick, I don't think you were born yet. But Craig Erickson was the middle round pick quarterback who had played at Miami and played on one of the national championship teams.
Yep.
And Sam White kept saying, Craig Erickson's not ready. Craig Erickson's not ready. And he played a little bit in the preseason. This is as a rookie now, not as a third-year player. Not ready. Steve DeBerg is the veteran. DeBerg comes out. DeBerg's at the end of his career. This is DeBerg's second go-around with the Buccaneers. 93 season. This is the 93 season. DeBerg plays the first game with the Chiefs. Speaking of hot, that was Joe Montana's first game with the Kansas City Chiefs. DeBerg is awful in the game. The Bucs get blown out. Guess who started the second game of the season? Craig Erickson. After Sam White's declaring for 3 or 4 weeks, he's not ready. Okay, now it's his turn. We got to find out if he can play. So that's just an example of how you try to spin it. You try to do this stuff. We'll see. And we were saying competition makes you better. Servassier Dennis looking good. Competition for pass rush help. Yep. My guy Mark Ennis in Louisville, who's a big Louisville guy and a big Buccaneer fan, he's going, what about Yaya? What about Yaya Diaby? How has Yaya looked? You guys can speak to that. That's a guy. He is battling for playing time. I am all about the training camp competition at all these different positions that aren't solidified. We know Mike Evans. We know Tristan Wirfs. We know Levante David. We know Carlton Davis. We know Rashad White. We know those guys are the established guys, but pretty much a lot of the rest of it is going to be who competes to get playing time. Vita Vea, we know that he's going to be the guy, but who else gets playing time out of the other group?
All right, TJ, go do your other hits this morning. I know you got Memphis on the line.
You got Memphis. You got to go get to Memphis and talk to them on the radio and wax eloquent about the fight and about the Buccaneers. You have me on regularly now from training camp to preseason. We're going to get a game here. And by the way, we didn't get to tell enough Rondé Barber stories. You're going to tell more. You were there at the Vet when he closed down the Vet, Super Bowl champion. The fans should just know this. As tremendous a player as you saw, and JP and Nick, you know this, even better human being off the field. Hall 100%. Of Famer off the field already. Good for Rondé Barber. I have much love for them. His brother Tiki Barber, who I've worked with the last 3 years doing national radio, will give the introductory speech on Saturday night. Great for the Barbers, great for the Buccaneers. JP, we have lived long enough, brother, you and me, that the Buccaneers are now going to have 4 Hall of Fame players off that defense in the late 90s and the early 2000s. That is amazing. Good to be with you.
See you, TJ. Good stuff.
All right, boys.
Yeah. Probably should have won another Super Bowl, at least that group right there. Going to get a little offense going. All right, we'll take a break. Hopefully I'm back for the remainder. Kurt Weiler is going to join us from the Osceola and Rivals Network, and we're going to chat about Florida State possibly moving to the Big Ten and their big move in recruiting as well in the past few weeks. So stay with us. Some FSU talk next, coming to you live from Orlando here and St. Petersburg. Stay with us.
Insurance coverage can be confusing and expensive. I mean, where do you start? Which companies can you count on to pay out fast and fair? Well, call the great folks at Italiano Insurance. It's a family-owned business. Jeff and Nat Italiano are carrying on the 60-year-plus tradition of giving amazing customer service and giving back to the community through their annual backpack drive for needy students and their support of the local pediatric cancer patients. But it's the customer service that sets them apart. They can shop all your insurance needs and save you big-time money. Don't hop on the internet and waste time looking at some bogus reviews. Talk to knowledgeable agents and not some voice-generated robot. These are confusing times for homeowners, and Italiano's team of experienced professionals can provide the right coverage for every situation: home, auto, business, life. It's Italiano for all the pieces of your life. Call 813-877-7799 or go to italianoinsurance.com. Well, Fitz the mortgage guy did it again. A listener heard his ad, was going to another big bank, but called Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services of Tampa, and Fitz saved him $618 on his monthly payment. Are you kidding me? Folks, that's big money. Rates are going up, they're going down, they're going all over the place. Scott will shop your loan and save you lender fees and get the best rates. Email him, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. That's Fitz the mortgage guy. Lots of stuff going on right now, and these rates are going all over the place. You need somebody knowledgeable in the market that will work hard for you and get you the best deal. That's my man, Scott. He's done 3 loans for me, done thousands of loans for local folks here, works with a lot of the coaches and players in the area. He's the guy. 813-294-7595, or go to scott@amstampa.com.
During That's my carrier. Love them. Paying $800 left after making the call. 877-652-. Our highly trained professionals know all the intricacies of the new laws. They will do all the work. You save tons of money. So if you're being dropped from Medicaid, fear not. Call 877-652-0244. Get real health insurance, free doctor visits, free blood work, no deductibles. 877-652-0244.
Hey, JP here for Extravaganza Productions Incorporated, EPI. You've probably seen their purple logo at so many events that you've gone to. They are based in Tampa, and for over 33 years, they've been creating and producing conferences, meetings, and special events, the biggest to the smallest. Solid reputation of delivering the best audio-visual, sound, lighting, entertainment, video production, and decor on time and on budget. I've worked with them with so many big events. The Warrior Games, which was an Olympic-style event all over Tampa Bay, from McDill to the Convention Center to USF. They did it flawlessly, made it look big and fantastic. I've worked with them on small events as well, large and small meetings and conferences, sporting events, fundraisers. If you got a fundraiser, you don't know the logistical way to pull it off, they'll take care of everything. Entertainment events, branding events, grand openings, so much more. The folks at Extravaganza Productions are the most professional and the best. I've worked with them many times. They are fantastic. You can contact them through extravaganzaproductions.com or call 813-621-4700. Extravaganza Productions, they are awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's rock. This is FanStream Sports with JP.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the great folks at American Mortgage Insurance. If you're looking for a refi or a new home, Scott Fitzgerald, the man, will take care of you, always get you the lowest rates, get you the best situation, and hook you up and help you out with your personal finances as well to get everything in order to get that loan and get that new house or the refi. You can contact him, Scott at amstampa.com, Scott at amstampa.com. All right, let's bring in our good friend Kurt Weiler from the Osceola Rivals Network to talk some Florida State football. Kurt, how are you?
I am doing well. Football's almost here, so that's always a mood booster for sure.
What are we, 28 days away from LSU, FSU, I believe, something like that? So, yes.
A little more, September 3rd, but we're
okay.
about, soon enough, it'll be a month before you know it.
Cannot wait. But the action is already starting. My phone was blowing up yesterday. I'm sure yours was as well with all this news of Florida State possibly moving to the Big Ten, big Board of Trustees meeting coming up tomorrow, I believe. What can you tell us? Is there some fire with all this smoke?
We'll find that out tomorrow, I think, in all honesty. I think there is more smoke than there's ever been. Whether that leads to a fire, we will find out. But no doubt, it's this feels like it was always going to take kind of a school testing the grant of rights. And it seems like we've kind of reached a breaking point of frustration on the Florida State side where it's quite possible that will happen here in the near future. We'll find out probably more tomorrow if they don't go into a executive session or something where they can kind of close off publicly.
Yeah, I read an article the other day about how the ACC defrauded Florida State of their grant and rights. And I also spoke to some pretty powerful people here in the Tampa area that have some knowledge of these grant and rights and some legal knowledge of it. And they told me that there is a belief that there are ways, some loopholes, if you will, to get out of this or at least exert enough legal pressure on the ACC that they can get some movement. And this also could be a play to get more money out of the ACC, disproportionate to other schools, since FSU feels they bring a lot more to the table. And that seems like something the ACC is just it doesn't want to budge on. But could this also be a power play to get that movement from the ACC? What do you think?
I think it's absolutely possible. I think, truthfully, there's not if there were a true loophole, I think it would have already been found and exploited by now. I think it is pretty rock solid without kind of testing it in a court of law is kind of what that would come down to.
Right.
But yes, I think it's absolutely possible where this is a play to test. If Florida State talks about it openly in tomorrow's Board of Trustees meeting, it definitely feels like a ACC. Are you sure you don't want to do uneven revenue? Are you sure you want it to go down this way? Because Florida State. Michael Alfred's talked pretty candidly last February, kind of really kicked this all off in a public manner. I think it's been known for a while, the problems for longer than that. But in February, Michael Alfred kind of made it clear, we're 20 or 30 million behind the SEC and Big Ten now, but that's only going to grow. And the crazy part is the grant of rights going through 2036.
Yeah.
The SEC and Big Ten are going to go to the table again after their current deals would start, I think, next year, and negotiate again before the ACC's up. It is crazy the deal that John Swofford got locked in kind of around the onset of the ACC network and how short-sighted it was long-term. Obviously, it got the ACC network, which was a big part of it and something that the network or the conference had wanted for a long time, but it now feels like at what cost? It's kind of aged like milk. Yeah. It's we're only a couple of years into it, relatively speaking. And I think so. It's possible for sure that Florida State is not willing to test it in a court of law, but is willing to tell everybody they are in the hopes that will kind of light a fire into the ACC spot.
Yeah, I agree. Kurt Weiler joining us here from the Osceola part of the Rivals Network. And I think when I first started talking about it on this show that, no, folks, it's the Big Ten. It's not the SEC. People just don't understand it. They don't get it. But you got to kind of walk them through the value that Florida State brings to a Big Ten vis-a-vis an SEC. And well, I would think everyone would acknowledge that culturally it's a better fit in the SEC. Financially, it's probably a better fit for both parties in the Big Ten. Would you agree with that? If there is a move that it's more likely Big Ten than SEC, or am I wrong about this?
In the immediate future, I tend to agree. I think the Big Ten is more motivated to maybe help Florida State, maybe take an offset of, or something like that. The Big Ten is definitely more motivated, where the SEC, because the thing is, I mean, it's dual fold. The advantage of obviously it's easier to pitch for all those Big Ten schools, be they in USC, be they in California, be they anywhere in the Midwest where so much of the Big Ten is, or even the Mideast. If you have a team in Florida, you can recruit those kids easily, of saying, look, we'll have games here every so often. And that's a big deal, I think, for coaches.
Yeah.
Because obviously everybody recruits Florida. But on top of that, I think it's a big deal the Big Ten is not in Florida at the moment. And when you have a school in the network, in your conference that's in a state, you can charge more for your conference network. There is the Big Ten network still. That's not the big part of the money is. Deal. So I think it makes a difference there too. And so the SEC already has Florida. The SEC is, I would say, less motivated. And I agree. On paper, a better cultural fit, a better geographic fit. But it sure seems like both these conferences are going to end up going somewhat kind of nationwide. It's going to be. It feels like we're going to end up kind of with a NFL minor league, and so I think that it will change kind of the perceptions of things like that within the next however long it takes.
Kurt Weiler joining us here from the Osceola Rivals Network. Kurt, also, I think I noticed that Florida State has moved in a month from 24th in the Rivals Network for 2023 recruiting to number 8 with a lot of good pickups. Charles Lester III came in, and some other big names. Talk a little bit about the recruiting side of this for Florida State, and they've had a pretty good month.
Yeah, there was frankly frustration with the fan base of coming off the big win. I think the big 2022 season, the 10-win season, people thought, oh, well, that should help recruiting. It's easier to recruit coming off a 10-win season than it is a 5 or a 3, which was kind of how many they had in the first 2 years. And that wasn't instantly true, where, I mean, Florida State fans had to Florida State didn't actually pick up an entire commit in the entire month of June. I mean, Florida, I think, rocketed up to third in the class rankings, had a great month on the trail.
Yep.
Florida State was not picking up anybody. I think some of that comes down to Florida needs that positive momentum going more into, I think, a season that's going to be tougher for them than Florida State. Florida State's obviously going into the season, and weird things can happen, looks to be in a much better spot than Florida. And so I think Florida needs that momentum more than Florida State. But Florida State's July has been huge. I think they've picked up 10 commits. I think they've doubled the size of their class, gone from 27th to, I think it's 8th in the Rivals class rankings. And you mentioned Charles Lester is a big get. I mean, that kind of, you finally changed the Dion narrative a bit from the Travis Hunter situation. Obviously, winning a big battle there is a big deal for Mike Norvell and his staff. And they have a chance to win another one this weekend. I mean, KJ Bolden is a top 10 overall kid in this class, and he's announcing Saturday. And there's been a lot of buzz around Florida State. Georgia's in there. Ohio State's in there. Bama's in there. Auburn's made a late charge. It is kind of a big boy recruitment for a very good defensive back. And Florida State is right there. If they can pull that one off, I mean, they might be pushing top 5.
And when you look at the on-the-field product and what we expect to see this season, I think we all would agree it's great to see Florida State back in that national conversation of, we think about college football playoffs and things like that. But are you buying that right now as they stand? I know there's a lot of talent. They brought everything back that they needed to. Are you buying it right now that this is a bona fide national championship contender? Or are you kind of in wait-and-see mode? And obviously week 1 against LSU, a team that everybody's picking to win the SEC West, might be the biggest indicator there.
Yeah, I'm as far as that level of expectations, I'm in a bit of wait and see mode. There are a lot of things you like. The interesting thing, I mean, we will find out quickly. You talked about that LSU game week 1. And then week 4, they play at Clemson. I mean, they kind of have the two, by a significant margin, toughest games on their schedule in the first month of the season. Kind of by September, they'll have played two potentially top 10, top 15 teams. And they may not play another the rest of the season. So, yeah, I think it will be interesting. It will be telling, but there is a lot to like about this team, and believe that if things break right, they could maybe win the ACC and make a playoff. And from there, we'll see what happens. I mean, I think when you get so many guys back off of what was a very good team, I don't think we expected to see Jared Verse back. He's back and could be kind of a defensive player of the year for the ACC. Jordan Travis, I mean, anytime you've got a sixth-year quarterback who's had so much success, and just I think makes a big deal. Getting a guy like Johnny Wilson back, and they hit the portal again really well. They added a few really good defensive linemen. They added a really good cornerback who is an all-ACC guy at Virginia. They added a tight end from South Carolina and Jaheim Bell, who's just going to further bolster what that offense can be. They bring Trey Benson back. We'll find out quickly. It's the good thing. We won't have to wait. We'll kind of find out week 1 and then week 4. But it's interesting because if things break right, possibly. But I'm not sure I'm there yet. I think it's more win the ACC, make the ACC championship game again. That hasn't happened since 2014, and see what happens.
Yeah, I think I just saw the ACC media poll, and Clemson is on top by a wide margin. So finally, something to rally. My biggest fear, Kurt, about this team right now is overconfidence and reading their press clippings. I've seen it happen before at Florida State, going way back to the Seminole Rap in 1988. That's how old I am.
Yeah.
But so that's my fear. But I think Norvell will keep him in a good headspace, and at least maybe he can post this now up on the wall. Look how many votes Clemson got in your own ACC media, 103 to your 67. They don't believe in you. They think you're dog crap. So go out and prove differently. Finally, some negative news, which I wanted to hear. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I tend to agree. That doesn't do any bad. I think I agree with you on Mike Norvell and him being, I mean, they've bought into the culture. And he talked candidly about, like, we talked about how do things change when there are expectations. And he talked candidly about, last week at ACC Kickoff, we did a local media session about kind of like, yes, you have to worry about complacency. You have to make sure that guys aren't thinking just because they won 10 games last year, that's like the baseline for next year because we bring so many guys back. What he said that I thought was it made me feel better about that for sure, was he talked about, and I agree, having been out there in the spring, he said kind of Jordan Travis, Jared Verse, and Johnny Wilson, kind of the three all-ACC guys, probably three of the better 5 players on the team, all were kind of the three of the most improved players in the spring. And he was kind of like, when your leaders, when your guys who are already established are kind of fighting to be the most improved players, that shows me that I think we're fighting off complacency pretty well. I also thought Florida State handled ACC Kickoff and that media event and kind of their newfound hype pretty well. They didn't have a bunch of quotables. They can get freezing cold take later. They were definitely staying in the moment, understanding or saying at the very least that what happened last year has no effect on what happens this year. And nice. They were definitely approaching it the right way. And so that gives me confidence somewhat too, that there won't kind of be the step back because of expectations.
So you're saying they won't be making a rap video with Tallahassee's Boston Richie for the upcoming season? We won't see that? No chance?
I don't think you will see that. No, I think that would.
All right, we'll end it on that, Kurt. How can they get your great content at the Osceola Rivals Network?
Yeah, it's floridastate.rivals.com or theosceola.com. And it's Kurt, C-U-R-T-M, Weiler, W-E-I-L-E-R on, I would say Twitter, but I expect to say X now, which I don't particularly enjoy saying.
It just doesn't roll off the tongue, does it?
No,
right,
well, it sounds like something else.
All right, Kurt, great stuff. Thanks, partner. Appreciate it. We'll chat with you down the line.
Sounds good.
Great place to get all your FSU news right there. They got great podcasts as well. Our good friend Patrick Burnham, we got to get him on talking about the recruiting class as well, and because they're really rocking it up the board with some new recruits. We didn't talk about this. Did you see the Charles Lester announcement?
I didn't see I saw just the tweet, but was there something bigger to that?
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I take it there was.
He did a live stream My friend said it to me. I'm sitting there watching. I guess it was Saturday night, and it was something else. It was something else. I mean, it was
elaborate a little bit. What is something else?
It was like, he had him pulling up in his convertible. I don't know what kind of car it was, but I'm sure it was very expensive. It was like a Hollywood premiere. Everybody, the whole neighborhood was there, and and then he pulls up and gets out of the car, and the cameras are everywhere as he's going in, but it's not like grown-ups. It's all like little kids and teenagers everywhere. And then they go into this room, and there's this big white curtain with some, decorations on it, and the music is blaring, and it's not appropriate music for little 6 and 7 year old kids. They're dancing around in front of it. I mean, it was explicit music, like really raunchy. And there you see all these like 7 and 8 year old kids dancing around. And then he comes out and finally makes everybody, they're waiting for the big announcement. And he comes, they open the curtain, and it's him in like full Indian headdress. He's got the tomahawk spear. It's FSU. And like the comment section is just like,
it sounds like a party to me that I'd like to be a part of.
It was interesting. It was interesting. And I thought he might rescind his commitment after the comments that were written by FSU fans. And it was, I guess this is what happens when 18-year-olds get millions and millions of dollars of NIL money. They produce.
I don't know about it. I mean, this is kind of how announcements are. They always become. It's like announcing your fact that you're having a kid. And we always
it used to be like
same thing they do for recruiting announcements now.
Like back in the old days, they do it at the school, and it'd be like an assembly, and everybody would be there, and they'd be
boring,
dressed up nicely, and the coach would be there.
Snooze fest.
And so that's passe now. It's got to be like a rap video. It's got to be like.
I don't care. I just care that I just care that the school got the commitment.
Yeah,
I don't care. Hey, I will say though, quick little note on recruiting: Florida State with the Charles Lester in our on-3 recruiting rankings, they've rocketed up to number 5. Actually,
wow.
On 3, Florida's at number 3, so the 2 Florida schools are inside the top 5. First time that's got to be like that in a long, long time.
And USF just landed their biggest recruit ever.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about that.
I was going to point to that one as well. 4-star safety Fred Gaskin, local kid, or kind of local, Ocala, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he commits to them over Tennessee, Miami, Florida State, and others. A top 300 player nationally, and their 3rd highest ever recruit. I believe they've landed at USF. And after that one, they've rocketed up in On3's rankings up to number 68. And I looked at the other services. Rivals has them more favorably at 54. In the top 60, obviously. So
nice.
Coach Alex Golish doing a really good job there with his recruiting class. And that, by the way, in all the services, all 3 of them, On3 Rivals 24/7, USF has the number 1 recruiting class in the new look AAC, ahead of East Carolina, Tulane, and FAU. So
wow.
And for a team that was 1-11, so this is a good sign. And that got me thinking. By the way, we weren't. You went out to you were there at the golf tournament on Friday.
Yeah.
And I was curious, you had any notes there? I saw you were doing the auction with Coach Golish. If you had any notes there to share from us from what you saw or learned.
Yeah, it was a great outing. A lot of big hitters there. Unfortunately, I mean, in terms of money, not golfers, but there were some good golfers there as well. Steve DeBerg was there. I was hanging out with DeBerg for a little while. Speaking of DeBerg, we talked about him earlier today. And it's you could feel that there's a good energy there for USF. There's a really good energy, and Coach got up and fired up the crowd a little bit. Then I did my deal and raised some money for USF. We had we sold 2 tickets to the national championship, and the pre-party went for like $4,000, which I thought was a steal. I could have that was a steal. I wanted to buy them myself and turn them around, make double the money. It was a really, really great event. Unfortunately, it got rained out at the end. We almost all died from lightning strikes. I mean, the freaking storm that came in was unbelievable, but it also kind of forced everybody into the area. And we all just, kind of had a lot of fellowship, you know what I mean? And it was fun. You got to talk to a lot of the assistant coaches as well. I chatted with, and they've got a really good energy. They've brought in some serious talent. I was talking to a lot of the assistant coaches, and I was asking about that, like these transfers that are coming in, and they're like, this is something that USF, we really need to build on because kids want to play. And there are lots of kids at Tennessee, South Carolina, Ole Miss, these SEC and ACC schools that are good players that are blocked by better players, and they want to come play football and they want to come back to Florida. So I think this is a big part of the future success for USF. So their talent level hopefully is jumped up a little bit.
Yeah. We also got really good reactions from your interview with Michael Kelly there from the tournament, and BJ as well. I thought that was very well timed, I guess.
Yeah.
We got it there with that whole that Pac-12 thing, which again,
that was crazy.
Yeah. Which again, like Michael kind of said, and it's obvious. I mean, you're reaching out to every conference, right? It's kind of just going on. I mean, even like today, I think Arizona has their board meeting to try to jet out of the Pac-12. So all these spots are opening up. So it's like, USF, hopefully they get to the front of the line of that.
And listen, and people will poo-poo the Pac-12. Oh, it doesn't work. The West Coast, blah, 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 blah. Look at, the conference you're in, and I know the Pac-12 is going to change,
right?
But you're moving up. If it were, I don't think this is going to happen, but Michael Kelly is doing his due diligence. UCF applied to all 5 of the major conferences, including the Pac-12, when the paperwork was, when applications were open. Why wouldn't you, right? It's like, like we had the conversation, you want to keep your resume updated for wherever the next opportunity is going to go. You don't want to leave any doors closed. I mean, USF is in no position to go, no, we don't want the Pac-12.
Right.
So you're in no position to do that. You're open for business, whatever it may be. Hypothetically, you have no idea what's going on. You may be in the Pac-12 for 3 years, and then something opens up in the ACC.
Yeah, what happens if you go – like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you were a 1-11 football team, and obviously we pointed out on Friday, it's not just about the on-the-field product. It's the TV market size university, all those type of things. But what would it say if, like, again, you are coming off a 1-11 season, if you're somehow able to get yourself into the Pac-12 with that, and then you get into the new look Pac-12, whatever it is, maybe Coach Golish gets things going in a couple years, and then by the success of the football team added in with the market, which would only expand, in my opinion, by going to the Pac-12 and interest and money and all those type of things, then you get into the front of the line for the next round of expansion.
Exactly.
I mean, there's no point. I mean, nobody knows where this thing is going, right? It's just, you kind of have to just always stay very fluid through all of it. And, hopefully it sounds like Michael Kelly and USF is doing that right now.
Yeah. And in terms of having a guy in charge that is well connected in college football and knows everyone and can pick up the phone and call these folks. I mean, he worked at a high level in the ACC, ran the national championship for years and years. He's as connected in college football as anybody is. And having that guy there to be able that can call up, and, he doesn't have to just read the news reports, because those are probably not well sourced anyway, because nobody's talking about this stuff on the record. So you got to go call the people that are making the decisions, that know you and trust you, right? To keep conversations confidential. So they'll be able to share some information with you that will help you make decisions. But the bottom line is, you got to put yourself in the best position to make the move. And people could say all they want, oh, USF 1-11. It's not what it's about. It's about your facilities, your location, your TV market, what your possibilities are, what you can bring to the table. Nobody knows I know this. USF was number 2 in the nation at one time. So don't tell me it can't be done. It can be done. UCF was nowhere, right? Look at them now. They're in the Big 12. There are people that, 15 years ago said, wait, UCF's getting into the Big 12. Well, here we are, right? So you can't the stupidest thing to do is base it off a football record from 1 or 2 seasons. That's just dumb. It's what are the possibilities? This is the one of the 25 the biggest enrollment universities in America. It's now an AAU public university in terms of their academics.
That's a big thing too.
That's a big thing when it comes to these conference realignments. The ACC can look at that and go, this is no slouch of a university, right? So all these things play out. Now you have an on-campus stadium that's about to be built. So all these things come into it, and it's in the state of Florida, the talent-rich state of Florida, and the population-rich state of Florida, in the 11th largest media market in America. That is something. You want to sit here and talk about Boise State or Memphis,
San Diego State.
San Diego State. You know, they don't have any of that stuff. They may sound better and they may have won more football games, but that's not what brings eyeballs and money to a television deal, which is the biggest mover of all of these conference alignments things. How much money can you bring to the television picture? And that's what it's all about. So, all right, what did we miss today that we have not yet hit, my friend?
I think we hit mostly everything Bucks and Rays related for sure. We hit the U.S. women's soccer team with that happened last night.
Yep.
And I think, for now we hit USF there. We hit all our notes. So just kind of looking forward, and we're at the end of the show anyway, so we're all good. But looking forward to hopefully seeing the Rays at a bat here in the next, how many more hours we got? Like 6 hours to go? 7 hours?
Rays need to add a bat. Looks like the Orioles are all in on Verlander.
No, I just saw a surprise team has entered the Verlander sweepstakes, and it makes no sense to me. And it's the San Diego Pods.
What?
The San Diego Padres. That's what, according to John Heyman, they're the mystery team that's in on Verlander. So it looks like they're not trading any
money. Yeah.
That's what spending money goes way too far, by the way.
Exactly. Which we'll never have to worry about as long as Stu is the owner here. All right. Our thanks to Scott Reynolds, who joined us today, TJ Reeves and Kurt Weiler. Thanks you guys so much for joining us. Remember, every day from 10 to noon, we are here 2 hours of Tampa Bay sports talk, Tampa-centric sports talk, and you can find us on all the different platforms. Please share it. Tell all your friends. Looking forward to a hell of a football season. Go Rays tonight, and we will see you tomorrow.